Welcome to the Only One Mic podcast called Gerard Brooklyn Dre. J-Rob is in the building. How you doing, fellas?
What's up?
All right.
Glad to be back.
Welcome back, America. So, on this one here, we're going to talk about Malcolm X's family suing the CIA, the FBI, and the New York City Police Department. Also, America's newest problem. We have new opioid issue. It's turning people into quote-unquote zombies. So fentanyl mixed with Tranq. We got to talk about that one, fellas. I mean, I
just want to know why.
It's terrible. People want to always find new and inventive ways to get high. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? But at the expense of rotting your flesh and knuckle dragging and all the stuff that we see that this new drug is doing, Tranq, which originally, was created in Puerto Rico about 10 years ago. So they were dealing with that issue some time ago. So now that we see that it's hitting the Kensington section of Philadelphia, J-Rob, you know what I mean? You're a native of Philadelphia, born and raised, product of the Philadelphia school system. That's where the big words is coming from, folks. But Jay,
grimy Philadelphia, they'll put anything in their veins down there, man.
Wow.
It's like the Bronx.
Yeah, but you know what though?
They used to have some principles.
But the Kensington section has always been known for, just like a wild section. You know what I mean? So
it's the Badlands.
It's the Badlands.
It's like the dusty Staten Island, man.
Yeah, might be worse.
Kensington was when you whipped up a new batch and you wasn't sure about.
All right, well, you know what?
You go to Kensington to put out testers.
But before, and then I'm glad that you said that because I have my thoughts on this whole Tranq thing too. So before we get into that, Philadelphia native that you are, J-Rob, can you give the people some context on the Kensington area of Philadelphia? Can you break this down? Can you break this down? And remember, we got babies listening to this. We want to send this message to the babies.
If anyone ever seen The Wire, where they basically in The Wire they allowed everything this to be, legal basically, in Kensington, they are operating in that same aspect where they just allowing everything to be what it is. You know what I'm saying? And because of that nature, you got zombies walking around out there. People looking half dead, and that's what's going on in Kensington and Allegheny.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kensington is the skid mark of Philadelphia. It's the skid mark of Philadelphia.
I mean, in our travels, to Philly. I mean, Philly has almost become like a second home to us, a third home, if you want to really say.
Right, yeah.
So, we ventured in Philly and we see different things, and of course, us being guys from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? We can't, talk about Philly the way that Jay can. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he knows what it's about, but I'm just going to say from what I know, man, they still got prostitutes walking around, drug addicts. You know what I mean?
K&A is, and it's been like that where it wasn't as like right now it's just like a free for all. Mm-hmm. Before it was like, you knew what was going on and you could see it, but now it's like they just open a pipeline in this where it was maybe it might be 10 fiends walking around. Now it's 40, 50 fiends just everywhere, 100. Like what's going on out here?
And because, of course we on the air, so you won't be able to see the footage that we have of this Pix 11 story that was focusing on the Kensington area. This stuff is hitting that spot hard. The way they're making it sound is like it's like ground zero for this whole Tranq movement that's going on right now.
Let people understand too. It's an animal tranquilizer.
It's an animal tranquilizer. Yeah, yeah. In fact, I mean, look, y'all. I don't know where anybody's getting their hands on.
Mixed with fentanyl.
Mixed with fentanyl. So
that's what it is. It's an animal tranquilizer.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, see, I didn't even go into that because we didn't start the audio yet. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's an animal tranquilizer. It's a sedative.
If y'all don't want to be here, man, make it easy on all of us and just go ahead and,
shine over your organs. You know what I mean? Let somebody get some good organs and go ahead and crash out.
Now this is the stuff. It's actually called Xylazine. Xylazine. I might be pronouncing it. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Xylazine. Yeah. And it has the street name is Tranq, dope and zombie drug, right? So it causes wounds that erupt with scaly dead tissue called ischar. Untreated can lead to amputation. It induces blackout stupors for hours, rendering users vulnerable to rape and robbery. Now it says when people come to the high from fentanyl has long since faded and they immediately crave more. Now this is not the, we play our little theme and it's not a funny situation for real, but people are not out here like eating people or anything like that. At least not yet.
This is worse than the dope fiend arm, man.
Yeah, it's bad. So we got a clip from Pix 11 News, New York News. They actually went to Philadelphia because now they're saying that this particular drug is hitting the New York streets. So, as go Philly and New York, so goes the rest of the world. So this is going to end up being in, every major city. Now, what I wanted to know really before we get into it is, at what point does it become an actual health crisis? You know what I mean? Because you see a lot of these, drugs didn't really become an actual health crisis until it started hitting like affluent neighborhoods when the soccer moms was hooked on fentanyl and hooked on prescription narcotics. But, this is like a public health issue. And I want to see how long it's going to take them when it's in places like, Kensington, it's just a blurb on the news.
That's the thing with Kensington. Kensington, historically, it was where the hood met the Caucasian neighborhood.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't as bad. Like you had to go up to Allegheny, Kensington. You had to go over there. You had to cross over there in order to get it. Now it's so rampant that it's just so crazy that they're everywhere. And they're actually being protected because the police out there and the people out there is giving these people needles so they can continue to do what they're doing.
Yeah, that's crazy in itself.
But that should be a public health crisis.
It should be. So we're going to go into this. And again, I put the link in the description for this Pix 11 report because it's right on the ground and it's showing you how this is affecting people. So,
but the quick answer to your question, I think they are going to move fast because if you look at this clip, it's a lot of white people on this drug.
Yeah, so we'll check it out. And we'll see.
If it was just black people, nobody would care.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's why nobody cared about crack.
Yeah, right.
That's why nobody cared about crack. All right, so here we go. This is Tranq users talking about skin-eating drug that led to amputation. Here we go.
I ain't heard Tranq or anything, man, until I came here.
Alarm bells are sounding in Philadelphia about Tranq.
Kind of like walking around looking like animals when their knuckles are touching the ground.
Now Art El Malik's hands and knuckles are swollen to 3 times their natural size from exposure to the animal sedative Xylazine, street name Tranq.
When I was leaving, somebody took samples and that's what got me stuck, man. They had samples of pretty dope.
The Xylazine now mixed into 90% of Philadelphia's fentanyl and heroin supply. Drugs that drive fatal overdoses.
Adding a horse tranquilizer, something more sedating, makes it feel like it lasts longer.
But now fentanyl addicts newly addicted to Xylazine, seen nodding out and falling over along Philadelphia's notorious Kensington Avenue, are also developing dangerous sores on their bodies.
Next thing you know, you wake up with these big-ass holes all over you, these sores in your legs and wherever. They just pop out anywhere.
Have the doctors told you that you could lose your leg?
Yes.
And that's not enough to get you to stop?
Trying. It's a lot easier said than done.
Art El Malik knows infection could precede amputation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility. Yeah, it's a possibility. A lot of my friends have lost their limbs already.
Withdrawal symptoms associated with Tranq can be brutal.
I tried like cold turkey, man. I had a seizure and everything.
You had problems on your legs?
I did, man. I had like a hole in my shin, and I could literally put 2 fingers in there.
We noticed one young man in a wheelchair missing his left foot. A federal law enforcement source told Pix 11 News vials of Xylazine have already been found in New York City stash houses that produce drugs, and it's spreading to other states.
Last I heard, it's probably at least 36 or so. It's spreading pretty rapidly.
Even though the animal tranquilizer Xylazine is causing some people to lose their limbs here in Philadelphia, it is not listed as a controlled substance in the United States. The Drug Enforcement Administration does not regulate it.
So yeah, non-regulated drug.
And that means you can't, if you get caught with it, you can't get no time.
And not to mention, I think it's going to spread as crazy as it possibly.
That's why it's probably hot on the street right now, because it's like how crack was when it initially started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you couldn't detect it. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of people went from straight cocaine to crack. Because when they put the baking soda and stuff like that in it, it wasn't as detectable as cocaine was initially. You know what I mean? So people got away with, like, they would get locked up initially, and then they would let them out of jail because they couldn't detect it. And then they started coming up with ways to detect crack and stuff like that. But
yeah, like, I mean, speaking of the public health crisis, the thing that got me to is you have a lot of people with open sores and wounds walking around the city. And I can only imagine like the amount of disease that flows, you know, just any, I'm not just picking on Kensington, but just like any area that this might possibly be in, you know?
Let's be honest. That's an area that has to be infested with disease. And like, if your child has to walk through there to go to school, that's a problem.
Right. And I was thinking about that too, Jay, as I was watching the report. And I'm thinking like, what about the mom that's on the bus going to work? What about the dad, the kid that got to get to school?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, you got people out here with open sores. I don't even see so much as, I don't know, if with these, it's going to be like a big spike in crime.
Yeah, historically, dope, you know, it's kind of like a dope fiend kind of thing. And historically, dope fiends, they do crime, but it ain't like how crack was. You know, crack, you can still get busy. You know what I mean? They lost it. Like they started losing their physical strength in order to do things. I'll tell you one thing that's crazier than all of this is like, who watches this? What person, what druggie watches this and say, I need to get that?
A lot of them. Cause that's the thought that I had initially. Because if you listen to what the lady was saying, she said, you know, they tried to resist it at first. Like they heard about it. They know it was bad, but you just got to do it. You know what I mean? And it's sad because now that the reports are out, people are going to be like, I want that high, even at the expense of losing a limb.
I don't even understand it because I'm saying, like, as a kid watching the crack epidemic, and what I'm about to say, you know, it's probably a bunch of family members that are going to think that I'm talking about them directly. But we know so many people that did crack in our family. And I watched people who were like very well-dressed men, very, you know, strong people in our family. They were tough guys in the community, you know, very, you know, strong men, I would say, man. And I watched them deteriorate to nothing. And as a child, I was like, I don't want to be that. And it had nothing to do with their skin breaking out or anything like that. They just looked like dirty, and they went from being clean and fly to looking disgusting. You know what I mean? And, you know, thank God a lot of them have worked their ways out of it and, you know, and become better, you know, even, you know, survive through the crack epidemic and become better men. But I find that crazy how somebody could look at something like that and say, yo, that's what I want to be. Let me go get that. Yeah.
When I first saw this story, I thought that the Tranq was like a cut that they was putting in the dope or something. Cause I seen them all nodding off on the story. I guess I kind of really wasn't catching everything, right. But like seeing it again, it's like, this is a whole different drug that they don't even have no classification for. Kind of reminds me of ecstasy when it first came out, where they could just run around with it because they didn't really know what it was. So this is a big problem, especially if it's causing people to have sores and getting amputation. Like this is going to be wild.
And I think about disease, man. Disease is going to spread. Now, this is a New York Times article that was about the Tranq dope epidemic, if you can say. This is from Sean Westfall. He's an outreach worker with Prevention Point, Philadelphia. He said it's too late for Philly. And he was saying that the neighborhood is the epicenter of the city's drug trade, and Philly supply is saturated. If other cities around the country had a choice to avoid it, they need to hear our story. What do you feel about that, Jay? You think that this is the destruction of Philly with this stuff here? Or?
Possibly. It's not going to get out of that area. So to say, like Kensington will always be Kensington. But it's not going to be a bunch of Kensingtons all over the city. Thing is that because they actually allow it over there, it's going to grow. It's just like if you do some type of experiment and the experiment's going good, you're gonna want to expand that experiment, especially if you be able to make a profit off it, and there's no repercussions because they don't know what this thing is.
And to be clear too, I mean, we know that guns aren't manufactured in the hood. I don't know too many labs in the hood. Do you think, because you used the word experiment, do you think that might be the case? I mean, because who would think to say, I'm going to put tranquilizer and fentanyl together?
Absolutely, because now if I was the scientist, I would want to know. We've seen what crack do, but crack wasn't. You might lose your teeth or something if you wasn't keeping yourself up, but it didn't deteriorate, like put holes in your body. This is giving you real holes in your body and you getting amputated.
You can die.
Yeah. Would you still do that? Would your mind still crave that high so much that you still want to do this drug? I think it's a social experiment.
And not the worst that we're going to see,
Not at all. Now, the next thing is to open it up on a bigger stage with more test subjects.
That's what I'm looking at. Yeah.
And I think it's also too another issue is that it's a different generation now. Like this generation doesn't police each other. You know what I mean? So it's like when we were kids, when, the ones older than us, that was the crack generation. When we were kids and we came up, if you smoked crack and you was on the team, like we had a problem with you. Like if you was claiming that you was in our neighborhood and you was down with us and you was going to hang out with us and whatever like that, we either got rid of you or sometimes people even put hands on you because we didn't like the fact that you was rolling with us. And, when people saw you doing what you're doing, they're thinking the whole team did this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So in this generation right here is not a generation that's going to correct each other. So it probably is going to move faster than it normally would. You know what I mean? And I don't think our generation get enough credit for that. I think our generation is the generation that I don't think it had anything to do with just say no. It just had the situation where, us not wanting to be dirty and nasty. You know what I mean?
In the 70s, there were functional heroin addicts. You know what I'm saying? We saw that because the cut wasn't as much, so where they could actually function.
Right.
Then, like around 88, we seen what crack was doing. Was like, them niggas ain't functioning. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can never do that.
This is bad.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I went from seeing like family members smelling and
find the finest chick in the apartment is bad.
Yeah,
get a hold of that. Everything go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We didn't want it.
What he say? Her booty dissolving like cotton candy in the mouth and starving.
It got bad.
For real, we seen that though.
It was bad out there, man. So yeah. I don't think this might be the worst one. This might be the bomb.
Listen, no lie. When we sitting to listen to the video, I'm like, if that's not the end of days, I don't know what is. Man.
This is it.
Yeah, and like I said, the dope fiend arm was bad enough. This is like they breaking scores, and the skin is like rock. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, like looking at a pineapple skin or something like that on somebody's arm, man. You know,
that look real nasty.
The Popeye arm on them too.
And I seen that would happen to dope users when they hit the vein. They vein will mess up. They'll get that elephantitis type of thing. But the fact that these guys like I don't know, like what if you getting sores, and I don't even know how you could continue.
Yeah,
the amputation alone.
Yeah,
people losing fingers, toes, legs, arms. Like how far do you go?
Oh, you see the amputee say he trying to stop.
Yeah.
His leg coming off, he's trying to stop.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, they said also, too, in the same New York Times article that a study was published in June and detected Xylazine in the drug supply in 36 states and the District of Columbia. So in New York City, Xylazine has been found in 25% of the drug samples. And though health officials say the actual saturation is certainly greater. Isn't that something?
Hey,
if they found it in drug samples, like what drugs are they finding it in?
Yeah, they didn't list it. But they said in November, the Food and Drug Administration issued a nationwide 4-page Xylazine alert to clinicians. So we could probably pull a 4-page alert up. If I can, folks, I'll pull the alert up and try to link it into the description for you to read it. So nationwide 4-page alert to all the clinicians about the amount of Xylazine found in different drugs.
But the funny thing about this is also too is like how back when crack started and how you said it was like undetected on the radar or whatever like that. This is what made the drug dealers go get crack.
Yep.
This was like advertisement for the drug dealers to go get crack. So as of right now, I'm quite sure as they're putting this on the news in Philadelphia,
everybody on the East Coast is on it.
Everybody that got any, hustle in them, gonna go get it.
From New York to Virginia, they're coming to get it.
They're coming to get it.
And they said that I believe one of the reports that I was reading was saying that this Narcan doesn't have any effect on it. So, yeah.
And listen, if you had a dope house yesterday, you got a Tranq house today.
And yeah, that's the thing. They were saying they busted busted some people in New York already with busted a house that had Tranq all in it.
Don't make no sense. They're gonna let them out.
They're gonna let them out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
We need a lawyer on this one.
Yeah.
So if anybody is an attorney is listen, y'all, drop something in the comment. Let us know what y'all think about this particular drug and, what can be done to combat it, if anything. If you have any ideas, we're all open to it. All right. So we're going to move on to the next topic, which is Malcolm's family. You know what I mean? Malcolm's daughter, along with Ben Crump, who, by the way, guys, I know we give Ben Crump a lot of flack on the show. I actually was telling
starting to switch up on Ben Crump.
Now, listen. I actually went, it's on Netflix. I watched his documentary. And I got to be honest with you. I gained a newfound respect for Ben Crump.
Let me tell you what I don't like. But I finally understood. Hold on. I finally understand what I don't like about Ben Crump, man. I don't like these old Negro spiritual speeches, man. I can't take those. That's what it is for me, man. It seemed like if he was just like a regular dude, just let us know what the problem is, whatever the case may be. You're not Martin Luther King, man. Just do what you do.
I feel you. I don't need to hear that either. Like you immediately turn me off. I feel like you're trying to play me.
You're hustling me, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm being hustled. Come out there and give me the information. I don't need to feel like you trying to preach me a sermon to feel like you trying to hustle me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if, again, all said, a lot of stuff that he did on the back end, like we get a lot of these high profile cases, but he has like cases where he's fighting discrimination in, hospitals, fighting discrimination at banks, things like that, things that we don't really know about, which is all addressed in the documentary. You can watch it on Netflix, judge for yourself. But in this particular case though,
I just watched them do a BT or something like that, a speech or something like that. And as I'm watching the speech, man, it's like I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, you got like who's it? All these different artists in stands or whatever, like they holding up their fists and all that. I'm like, y'all are probably none of y'all would bust a grape in a fruit fight, man, to save these black people from what we're going through in these streets. Y'all are the elite. The upper echelon, y'all don't give 2 cents about what's going on in the neighborhood or whatever the case may be, because y'all could change things if y'all decided to.
Yeah,
that's all it takes. A couple of dollars from all of y'all.
Yeah, to change things, man. But y'all really don't want to change anything. So that's, I found that to be hypocritical. And then again, his speech, and like you said, I analyzed this because once I saw the little documentary, I said, what don't I like about this dude, man? And when I found out all the things that he was doing, I was like, I like what he's doing, I like where he's going, but I just can't take them speeches, man.
I think that and not to make it about Ben Crump at all, but
I sound so Al Sharpton-ish.
I think that. Again, it goes back to that situation where we are the only ones that need leaders. You know what I mean? Like say, maybe he's trying to fill in that void that says, well, all right, well, we need a new black, quote unquote, black leader.
But the reason why we need leaders is the problem, because the government doesn't protect our rights. So we have to have leaders come up within the community to fight for our rights that we don't have, that we should have freely.
But I mean, let's be for real, man. And I mean, I'm not, again, this is not about Ben Crump, y'all. This is talking about Malcolm's family. So we're going to,
You're going to swing on into that.
Swing on into that in a second. Yeah. But just to say, how many Asian leaders do you know? Now, it's a lot of violence on Asian side, the whole thing going on with Asians being beat up. How many, can you actually name an Asian leader or?
That's what I'm saying. Their politics protects their community.
Right.
So I
think their finances talk for itself.
Yeah. So their community is protected because of their standing in the community. We have no organization like that with amongst the people. Mm-hmm. So our politics and our dollars don't speak for us. Mm-hmm. So we need a leader. We tend to think that we need a leader because we feel like we're not being heard.
But shouldn't that be up to us as African Americans to say,
let's stop it.
That too. But it's also like to say who that face is going to be, because I mean, at one point, remember, Steve Harvey went to talk to Trump on behalf of black people. Nobody told him to do that. And the result he got was a cold cup of coffee pretty much. but nobody told them to do that. We don't know what the agenda is. You know what I mean?
What's sad is we've gone from Malcolm to, from Malcolm and Martin Luther King, all of these great men over time, man, to the ones that we have now, man.
To Kanye West and Steve Harvey.
Well, let's get back on track, y'all. Let's get back on track. All right. So again, Malcolm's family is set to sue the CIA, the FBI, and the New York City Police Department over his assassination. Now, this opens up a lot, because now I'm thinking, what about Fred Hampton's family? What about, anybody that they had, the Medgar Evers, the dossiers to say, like, this is what we wanted to do. And you had everybody in cahoots pretty much to set these assassinations up the way that they were done. So, this is by way of France 24. This is Malcolm's daughter speaking about the whole, lawsuit that they're putting together. And just to give some people out here some context on what's going on.
8 years to the day after the death of Malcolm X, on the very spot where he was gunned down, his family announced their intention to sue U.S. intelligence and law enforcement groups for their alleged involvement.
For years, our family has fought for the truth to come to light concerning his murder, and we'd like our father to receive the justice that he deserves. By any means necessary.
Born Malcolm Little, the man who would become one of the most iconic figures of the struggle for black empowerment in America, spent his early life in foster homes and jails before joining the black nationalist group Nation of Islam. In 1964, he broke with the organization, an acrimonious split that brought a number of death threats. On February 21st, 1965, as Malcolm X prepared to deliver a speech at New York's Audubon Ballroom, a trio of assassins shot him more than a dozen times in front of his family. 3 Nation of Islam members were convicted of the murder. In 2021, though, 2 were exonerated amid revelations that prosecutors and law enforcement had withheld key evidence at their trials.
We intend to have vigorous litigation of this matter. The truth of what happened and who was involved has always been critical.
See, that's what I'm talking about, that conversation. I can't take it. He said, like, I have a dream today. What he's saying makes sense, man. I get it, but just the way he delivers it is horrible, man.
Yeah, you know what's funny, but that's I feel you. Well, we need some new, fresh, just ways, like new, fresh people to come out here and speak and have knowledge of self and of the community. Like, we just need fresh ideas. I'm tired of hearing all these old niggas come up here shucking and jiving. I'm serious because again, I'm feeling like I'm being hustled.
Well, it's so, it's bad because, again, Malcolm has been dead a long time, man. And his message is more modern than most of these people that we speak to, that we're listening to now, you know what I mean? And, it's sad that it took this long, to FBI. And actually, I only think, what's the documentary that we watched on? Was it Netflix?
Yeah, but the brother went back and did the investigations out in Jersey and all. Yeah.
A lot of people won't give credit to that brother until they watch that documentary. He's the reason why I believe all of this stuff is reopening, because he's the one that I believe that the people that got locked up was Johnson and Butler for his murder, and Thomas Hare. Thomas Hare was actually, I believe, actually did it. He was a part of the actual crime. But the Butler and Johnson, I think they did like 24 years in prison or something like that. And everybody knew that they didn't do it. And I believe they ended up, from that documentary, them finally reopening that case. And I think they believe they got like $26 million from the state of New York, for their cases being overturned. These men are in their 80s and, like well up there in age, man. It's sad that it took this long for them to correct this issue. And this is a well-known thing.
Abdul Rahman Muhammad.
I think that
was the one that actually did the documentary. I mean,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Just want to give some context to it. So yeah, he's the one that actually did it. The documentary was done in 2020 called "Who Killed Malcolm X." It's available on Netflix. Excellent documentary if you get a chance to watch it.
Right. Yeah, he opened up a can of worms with all of that stuff, man. And like you said, it's ironic that that the government is having to deal with this now because, like Malcolm said, the chicken's coming home to roost. You know what I mean?
You know what I find kind of ironic? With most things that we consider conspiracy theories, the government don't say nothing about it. They just let it rock. This comes out, and they immediately felt like they had to respond to this. Mm-hmm. I guess they actually had the facts to back it up.
His was tough, man. Is that a lot of people don't know that Martin Luther King, man, is actually considered as an actual murder. It was a investigation, and these people were found wrong. Our government is found in the hands of his murder.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but when you hear people talk about this, because the way they deliver that information to the world is like nobody really knows that they are in wrongdoing. People really think, what's my man's name that actually shot him?
That shot Martin Luther King? Allegedly shot Martin Luther King?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thomas Ray?
Oh my
Ray,
gosh.
Something Ray. James R. Ray.
James R. Ray. Yeah. So and James R. Ray, I read the book that said he, when he was giving his account or a family member was giving an account of the shooting, he said that he didn't kill him. The Earl Rays were actually petty thieves. And what happened is that when James R. Ray got caught, James R. Ray actually was, dating a black woman, according to the book. Dating a black woman. He hung out in jazz spots and everything like that. So he was saying he wasn't a racist.
Right.
They bagged him up and basically told him, like, look, if you don't kill Martin Luther King or say that you killed him or whatever, we're going to lock up the entire Earl Ray family for everything that your family has ever done. So, naturally, you're thinking like, I don't want grandmom to go to jail or go to prison. You know what I mean? Right. So he just went ahead and he took the deal. But they were saying that he never killed him.
Had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
You can only imagine, being as though it's 2023 and we know the history of what's happening in America in our lifetime. You can only imagine what happened the 40, 50, 100 years to brothers and sisters before that, when it wasn't as fashionable to be good to people. You know what I mean?
Right.
I watched Life recently, and I just laugh because I'm like, damn, like we look at this movie as just hilarious and a joke. That's real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people live that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, a lot of this wild stuff that went, like, we're just looking at this because we finally can have some information to bring some things to light. But how many things like this have gone under the table where people have spent lives in prison, been set up for murders and all kind of other stuff like that? And, it's just a crazy situation. The skullduggery of this United States of America is amazing.
It's crazy.
The fact that we get up every day and just act like none of that ever happened, just try to go on with our lives is a testament, and we all should be honored for that. The fact that we continue to have that spirit to try to continue on, like, because America didn't make this easy for us at all.
That's a fact. So the book is just to go back to the Earl Ray story, is Truth at Last, and this is the untold story behind the James Earl Ray and Martin Luther King alleged assassination, which I actually brought that book at the dollar store. You know what I mean? Wow. So it just showed. Yeah, like I actually brought that book at the dollar store.
That ain't gonna be on the bestseller.
No. Actually, you can get it. They saying used on Walmart at $4.09. So I mean, you can get it cheaper than that.
Most of your great information, man, is in a brown paper bag.
Yeah, in the bottom of somebody's library basement.
Bottom of a dusty shelf, man. You know what I mean? Nobody wants you to do. But yeah, man. Even the thing with like I said with James Earl Ray, I think if I remember correctly, I think his even like Coretta Scott King, I believe Ralph Abernathy. I mean, I think even his kids was like, yo, he had nothing to do with it.
Dick Gregory broke that down.
This is family.
Lovely. You know what I mean? If you ever look at Dick Gregory's, speech on that whole situation. And I mean, I know, Brother Dick had his issues towards the end because he was going through dementia, but this was Dick when he was sharp, giving this speech on what happened with that whole assassination. And he said, he showed pretty much step by step that the guy didn't do it and where the shots were fired. So,
again, hopefully Malcolm family will get that money.
Well, I'm thinking about too, like a lot of the other, political assassinations. You might have to open up the whole COINTELPRO file. People who think about the people who were like wrongfully incarcerated. Assad Shakur
Yeah, I was about to say, what about the Panthers? What about the fact that y'all infiltrated the Panthers, caused problems just so brothers and sisters get arrested? What about Mumia and them when they was driving on the turnpike and they came across the cops?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the cops are trying to kill me. I'm not supposed to defend myself, but now I got a murder charge because y'all done locked me up. Y'all done had me in prison for 30 years. Come on, man. Like,
yeah,
it's so much of it.
Well, if you want to cross the other side of the tracks, what about Lee Harvey Oswald? You know what I mean? Say, never fired a shot. You know what I mean? So, but you got to think about
some of them names gonna stay in some of them names gonna stay in the dirt, man.
Jack Ruby.
You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to figure out how come every time somebody gets killed, they got 3 names, and when they don't go all the way, they only got 2 names.
I know. What's the name, man? Asada Shakur. I don't think he's gonna get that cash, man. and she better stay out of the United States of America.
Yeah, man. Another interesting story, guys. That suggests you guys pick up her book, Asada. That's a deep story. One of my favorite books.
Let's give. And if you guys haven't seen this, man, you have to see Fred Hampton's trial where he represented himself. If you want to see something hilarious and funny, it's the funniest thing you ever want to see. Fred Hampton's trial. I think he stuck up like a ice cream truck or something like that. Or he supposedly allegedly he put pressure on the ice cream truck, man. I'm telling you, it's the funniest thing you want to see when he represented himself, man. It's hilarious, man. Yeah. I don't think Fred Hampton is going to get his money, man.
But look, man, they
did do him dirty.
If you did him dirty, if they can prove Martin. You know what I mean? Like, because you got to think about, and a lot of people don't think about this, is that all of Malcolm's family, this man, kids watched him get assassinated. His wife, watched him get assassinated. How did it affect them over the years? You know what I mean? This is like an unchecked situation where it's like, maybe they didn't get counseling for this. We don't know how it affected relationships, how it affected jobs. Things like that. So
then you want to talk about even how, like, I believe Malcolm's grandson killed Betty Shabazz, or she burnt up in the house by accident or something like that, supposedly, or whatever like that. And how, what that caused, or how did that come to play? I think he also had like a grandson that was murdered also too, or something like that. And it's just a bunch of stuff that came up out of their lives, man, that, destroyed their lives, man. These were people that would, and again, I don't agree with their religious philosophy, but as far as, like I've said before we got to this, man, like, I'm a student of Malcolm. I think I probably read everything he got. I done read a bunch on the Nation and everything like that. This is a disciplined man. You know what I mean? Like, something that you aspire to be. I mean, I just remember one thing they were saying, like, this man ate 1 meal a day.
Yeah. They said he had the cleanest colon they've ever seen in an autopsy.
Yeah, the autopsy said this is the cleanest body we've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, certain things like that, man, it's just like, man, it's just amazing to me.
Well, going back to what you said about, just to clarify, Betty Shabazz, 10-year-old grandson, Malcolm, who ironically named was Malcolm. In 1997, he set fire to her apartment, and she suffered severe burns and died 3 weeks later as a result of her injuries. Right. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that he killed her or anything. I'm just saying that, who knows what, like with the trauma and things that the family have received over the years, what transpired and for this to come to be where it is, you know what I mean? Because I never remember them saying that it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not
talking about it happening.
Just talking about it happening. Like, he just set fire to the crib or something like that. So again, I'm not, accusing them of anything unless they just didn't explain it properly. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's all something, but I would like to see, how this shakes out in the end.
But if the man had lived, how would his family have turned out?
Right.
He might have one of the more prominent families here in the United States of America, man. A disciplined family. Well, the man ran his ship like a military, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he had to during that time,
Yeah,
he had to. So, so that's pretty much what we got on this particular case. So we're gonna keep our ears to the ground on that one as well. So any closing statements before we get ready to?
What's horrible about that whole Malcolm situation and other things that we talk about is when they let the brothers out saying that they were wrongfully convicted, and they won the money, then you got to think about it. Just brings me back to everybody else. Their story would never be told. They were wrongfully convicted, whether it be child or adult, and put in those circumstances. Their information and their case will never see the light of day, and they're just stuck. It's really sad.
Yeah, and this is why we got to keep light to stuff like this, because it's easy for a story like this to just get buried, and you might go a couple of years and then find out, oh yeah, they did win the case. You didn't even know the case was going on. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to put it on notice, and also to keep it alive so that way the next person can come along and say, this is what, we want to go after.
Or just like Martin Luther King, man, like I said, man, it's, look, his situation, where the government was found wrong, and most people are going to hear this conversation that we're having, and they're not even going to realize or know that, until they hear this in this conversation.
Right. Yeah. Do your investigation, do the diligence, y'all, because all information is out there. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this show up. And let's see. I want to give recognitions out to Rochelle Love and Marcel Bragg. Thank you for joining us. New subscribers, they reached out. Also, Mr. Neutral. Mr. Neutral is another one that just signed up. So please keep the subscriptions going, guys. Smash up the likes. The comments, we need them. And that's about it. So check this out. The Only One Mic podcast is available on all major platforms that you stream your podcast on. Check out our Only One Mic podcast YouTube channel to catch up on the past and current episodes. And don't forget to rate the show and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can reach us via Instagram and Twitter at The Only One Mic P1, Facebook and LinkedIn at The Only One Mic Podcast, and email us at theonlyonemic00@gmail.com. And again, there you can leave your comments, show requests, and all. We thank you again for your time and encourage you to please speak your truth quietly and clearly and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant, because they too have their story to tell. So until next time, please keep in mind that we never had to run from the Ku Klux Klan, so we shouldn't have to run from a black man. Peace.
Peace.